Okay, then let's start our webinar. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Inherit webinar, Co-Creating Next Generation Solution for Cultural Heritage Buildings during the European Bauhaus Festival. My name is Małgorzata Ciuikła, and I am an expert for built environment, culture, and heritage at ICLEI Europe, the leading global network of cities, towns, and regions committed to building a sustainable future. Today, together with my colleagues and consortium partners, we will host the satellite event of the European Bauhaus Festival. The event within the festival is organized within the Inherit Horizon Europe project, and as an Inherit, we aim to enhance historic buildings through innovative solutions that focus on energy efficiency, climate resilience, and inclusivity. Our project is testing various solutions at 8 heritage sites in Croatia, France, Greece, Latvia, Poland, Spain, Sweden, and Turkey, assessing their adaptability across various contexts. Additionally, Inherit seeks to make a social impact by launching a capacity building program for cultural heritage operators, stakeholders, and citizens. Furthermore, Inherit deeply aligns with the values and working principles of the European Bauhaus, emphasizing the necessity of co-creation as a foundation for inclusion, innovative decision-making, and fostering a sense of belonging. However, today's event will go beyond our daily project activities, linking our research and innovation insights exactly to the European Bauhaus. Kicking off with a focus on a bottom-up approach, our webinar is designed to highlight the critical role of innovation, the diversity of voices of various stakeholders, and the importance of their collaboration in the management of heritage sites. And we are doing so by centering on the well-being and empowerment of communities. We aim to explore and co-create innovative strategies for resource management. We are very much pleased that you joined us to dive into various experiences of how collectively effort can shape the future of heritage sites conservation supported by the modern technology. And now, please join me in welcoming our distinguished speakers, working with the European Bauhaus framework, or exploring new solutions for sustainability of cultural heritage sites. Today, we have with us Helena Elliott from Nepstars and the city of Stavanger. We have Jana Michael from Kultur and Campus projects in Rotterdam, who are now actively involved in European Bauhaus projects with a crucial participation of the local communities as input providers. We also have today with us Stylianos Karatsas from University of Patras, who is joining us from Brussels, where the festival is taking place physically as a coordinator of the Heritage Horizon Europe project, in which heritage is seen as a sort of catalyst of everydayness for people. We also have Stamatia Rizou from Singular Logic, who is our coordinator in the Inherit project. And we have as well Rachel Desmarie from Kalasha project, representing the consortium who is dedicated to redefining the renovation of Europe's historic buildings. At this point, I would like to express my warm thanks to all partners who contributed to the co-organization of this webinar, especially to the Center for Social Innovation and Komal Poddar from ICLEI, who will co-moderate the webinar now with me. Now I will give you a short overview of the agenda. So we will have 3 parts in this event, 3 sessions. One will be dedicated to the power of co-creation, fueled by the European Bauhaus approach. Then we will follow up with a discussion dedicated to the multidisciplinary perspectives on next generation heritage solutions. And then we will arrive at the experience sharing session moderated by our colleagues from Center for Social Innovation. We aim to keep some time for burning questions before the closure of the event at 4 p.m. You can see now the details agenda, and you can recognize which session will follow after each other. And in order to make the most out of this online experience, please keep your camera and microphone off at all the time to avoid some interruptions. You can use the chat function to post your questions, to perhaps add some comments, or also share your experiences, relevant links. And please keep in mind that this event will be recorded. It's already also streamed on YouTube. So for your further reference, we will share with you a follow-up email with links and information on all the projects that we are the pleasure to invite today. So let us start with the first session on the power of co-creation with the European Bauhaus approach and dive deeper into our project. We will start with Rotterdam. Today we have, as I said, Jana Michael, who is an assistant professor of sustainability and urban cultures at the Erasmus University in Rotterdam and a team member of the Culture and Campus Project Porzellan. With the Culture and Campus, her responsibilities include research and education alongside contributions to other aspects of the project. Her academic background is in sociology with a focus on topics such as cultural participation, identity, sustainability, and educational inequalities. Jana, thank you that you joined us today, and tell us please how to approach co-creation in the Horizon Europe European Bauhaus Lighthouse Project Culture and Campus Porzellan. Welcome, Jana.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the warm introduction and the invitation to be here. I'm going to share my slides so that we have a bit more visualization to my talk. Can you all see the presentation slides? To check? No?
Not yet.
Oh, sorry, I didn't. The last button.
It's charging.
You see the actual slides, right? Yes, I can see in the tiny window. Okay, great. Yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our Lighthouse project, the Culture and Campus Porzellan, and how we're using co-creation within this project. Let's see if the slides are actually moving. Yes, okay. This is an overview of our consortium. You see, we have the Willem de Koning Academy, which is a University of Fine Arts. We have the University of Performing Arts, Codarts University of the Arts. Then we're partnering with Erasmus University, Rotterdam, where I'm a member of. And we have the Afrikaanderwijk Cooperative, which is a local cooperative facilitating lots of services in the neighborhood. And of course, ICLEI is a partner, ELIA is a partner, and the municipality of Rotterdam is also a very important consortium member. We're working together with the hub, like with the various other organizations as well, but this is the consortium. And with Culture and Campus Porzellan, we're working towards a sustainable hub for the arts, research, learning, and community. And we hope it to be a catalyst for territorial transformation as well. During this session, I'm hoping to inspire you a little bit by telling you a little bit more about our co-creative methods and also how we are alternating this monumental building, which you can see on the right. It's a building dated back to 1928. It has about 1,000 square meters space, 3 floors, and a big garden with somewhat rare birds and bats. This is a drawing from 1928. So it used to be a monastery and also an elementary school back in the days. It also always had a connection to learning and to community at the same time. So this is a very old drawing. It survived the Second World War bombings. While most of the city center has been destroyed, this building is located in the south of Rotterdam and has survived the Second World War. No, not survived. It's not a living building. Well, somewhat living building. In most recent history, the building has been used also as community and learning spaces centering on migrant workers. So it had a women's association being part of it with many members from Turkish, Moroccan, and Pakistani residents. Being in this building, it also facilitated lots of classes ranging from knitting workshops to math classes to language instructions in Dutch and in Arabic. So we have a variety of activities, also celebrations of Women's Days. So back in the 1980s and 1990s, we see lots of activity in this building. In the more recent history, it's been also again an elementary school, and at the moment it's built with like temporary housing units, which is moving out soon because the renovation is going to start. Yeah, this is another more recent picture of the south side. You can see on the front we have a very busy streets with quite some traffic and trams going on, and in the back you have the garden, and you also have a square that is actually relatively quiet for the neighborhood. So you see there's a running track, and there's also a green field, and on this space there's a festival happening yearly, but apart from that it's rather quiet there. Here we see some plans for the Casco building renovation, which is happening under the supervision of the municipality, who also owns the building at the moment. And we see lots of the renovations are focusing on actually making it more soundproof and more energy efficient, and then also tailoring it towards the purposes that we want to use the building for in the future. We've been holding a lot of co-creation sessions with different neighborhood residents, because the space is really meant to be a space for students, but also for the neighborhoods surrounding it. So we want to make it as inclusive as possible, which means that we are discussing with many, many different stakeholders what they would like to see in the building, and then working towards connection also between our higher education programs and what the neighborhood is already practicing. So we had design sessions with young people from the neighborhood, or teenagers, who were expressing their wishes. So we see graffiti being really important here, but also nail art, for example, was on the wish list. Gaming, nail art. Hoping to have a meeting place is very important for youngsters in the area, which doesn't have a lot of offer for youth, actually. So there's a lot of potential for the building to become a space that they like to use and that they can access. Our working methods, because the project is participatory by design, we basically, we make project plans, and those are being reviewed by a local stakeholder group. So we have a stakeholder group that consists of about 10 members, representatives of the neighborhoods, who represent also different ethnicities, different age groups in the neighborhood, different professions, and they're advising us, asked and unadvised, and upon request, but also unsolicited advice on our activities and on our plans. So they're very critical in thinking along with us. And then we have a co-design task force, which is basically consisting of partners, also experts and neighborhood members, who's then diving into the details. So for example, we're working on the theory of change methodology. We started with the project team, but now we're working with the co-design task force to refine the theory of change and make it suitable to all the different stakeholders. And then we have a project management team, a facility team that executes the activities together with the stakeholders. And of course, from a research perspective, we're monitoring the impact, and we're drawing lessons learned for a future Culturen campus, which is also supposed to happen in the south. This is just to give you some examples. It's really important for us to also work with our students. So here are some examples of outcomes from design sessions with students of the Hogeschool Rotterdam, who are working on a minor of renovation and transformation, and gave us lots of valuable ideas for the building. Here's another example, continuation of student co-creation with students from the Erasmus University, presenting results from their course on sustainable cities, and also an honors program on commons, where they also looked into the case of Culturen campus and how it could become the common for the whole neighborhood. Further, next week, they're starting a co-creative vision creating also from Hogeschool Rotterdam, which is University of Applied Sciences. They call it a pressure cooker course, where students are working more on the building vision for the inside of the building, because the plans for the outside are about to be implemented. But for the inside, there's still quite some potential to think along. And so these students are working on a vision for the inside, which is again fed by the earlier stakeholder meetings, and then will be turned into a competition after the summer, where basically neighborhood residents again decide which which plans are going to be implemented. And it's a student competition as well. Important working principle for us is also that we're really present in the neighborhood itself. So it means that we are hanging out in the neighborhood as much as we can, joining activities that are already happening, joining the energy that's already there, because we know that in this neighborhood, which is socio-economically disadvantaged and hyper-diverse for many years, often seen as kind of lacking in many ways. There's been a lot of top-down policy interventions on this neighborhood, which didn't really take the perspective of neighborhood residents as much into account. So it's very important for us to do it differently and do it together with the neighborhood instead of just for the neighborhood, so to say. So therefore, we really have to be present to also build trust among stakeholders, and also because there's already a massive lack in trust into institutions. So we see there's few people participating in voting elections, but also lower representation of the Rotterdam South in our institutions. So therefore, it's very important to be there and to be humble with the neighborhood as well. So to not come and pretend that we have all the answers, but really do it together with them and collaborate. So here's some examples of activities we organize. This is from our kickoff, which we also did at the Bloemhof Festival, which is happening once a year anyway. So since it's in our backyard, so to say, we joined forces and we are contributing to the program again this year. Just to show an example. So this is a festival that is very much organized by and for the neighborhoods. And basically we're contributing, and this year also thinking more actively of how can we connect our education with the neighborhood. So for example, there's this jumping castle, which kids love. Jumping castle, jumping house, I think it's called a jumping house. So where kids go and they it's like a trampoline, they jump on it. And this year we're connecting it to the circus education. So they can also follow a workshop from Kodas in circus. Already last year we also had kids drawing on climate change. So again, there's connections to our research and to activities within the institutions. Just another impression. We're also collaborating with martial arts, which of course, sports is another theme, so to say, but there are lots of connection points looking more holistically at well-being, for example. This is an example of the cultural, sorry, I lost the name of the conference that we had there. Let me check. It's called Institutionalizing Relationality, so it's a bit of tongue breaker, but it was a conference that basically brought together artists, researchers, policymakers, neighborhood residents. More than 150 people attended end of last year, where there were lots of interesting discussions about how can the arts engage in societal impact in a meaningful, collaborative way. So this was a very productive conference, learning moment for us, but also again bringing these different stakeholders together into conversation and also into the neighborhood where it happens. Also in our research, we are exploring participative methodologies that are somewhat different from doing interviews or doing surveys. So for example, we're collaborating with a project called Where We Stand, as meant to be a collective introspection on climate change. And from there, again, we get better idea of what's at stake in the neighborhood, what issues are at stake, because we know, of course, from the desk research, but we also need to hear it from the people in the neighborhood. And from there, we're again drawing insights on what activities would be most beneficial to conduct and to set up together with the neighborhood. Thank you so very much. We have a website. Unfortunately, it's still offline after we've been hacked, but it's supposed to come online very soon again. So then please find us at putselaan.nl, or also get in touch with me via email, of course, if there's questions that we cannot tackle right now. Thank you so much.
Great, Jana. Thank you very much also for highlighting the question of co-creation with topics like trust and the presence on the spot and the close collaboration with the neighborhoods, which is not obvious. So this is a process where you really need to invest time and your attention and care. Could you also give us further insights on the energy efficiency of your heritage buildings? This would be something that is, I suppose, also interesting for our participants today.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question, because it's, of course, very much a complex challenge. We have a building that's it's almost 100 years old and has not been renovated very much throughout the years. So lots of organizations have been in and out, but they have not renovated as much. So it's not energy efficient at all at the moment. And while of course, as you can imagine, the monumental status of the building can kind of, is in friction sometimes with the changes that you would want to make. So you cannot just, for example, replace all the glass by triple glazing. It's simply not possible. It's simply not allowed from the Monumental Commission. So they're reviewing all of our plans. And while there's been a lots of plans to make it more energy efficient, some of these plans are still now being questioned. So, for example, we were supposed to leave the dependency of gas in the building for heating and be connected to a collective, it's called like the energy grid that is giving warmth to houses. Now it turns out that this would be a massive investment of the energy companies, not just for our building, but for the whole neighborhood, which investment that they don't want to make at the moment. So it turns out that we might not be able to leave gas as we want to. So these kind of challenges are, very real, or we want to be a very inclusive, accessible place. But we have a quite heavy front door, which is part of the monumental building. And so you cannot even put like a ramp easily in front of the building. So we can do something on the back door, but it's been a constant negotiation. So can we make a ramp so people in wheelchairs and people with, for example, strollers for kids can just access? It's not that easy. So everything is going like back and forth, these things. So also the glazing, well, we can put double glazing into many windows. Apparently we did not choose all the right glazing for all the windows. So there's again negotiation of where to put monumental glass and where to put double glazing. And it's still ongoing, unfortunately. So it's constantly a back and forth between these commissions as well. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much, Jan. I think this is highly important when we talk about European Bauhaus, to see renovations of buildings through the lens of inclusion, how you can work on the resource efficiency while engaging communities. Thank you very much for joining us today. And now I will turn to Helene Elliott to further explore the interlinkages between co-creation and European Bauhaus as a booster of innovation and change. Hello, Helene Elliott. And just to give you an understanding who Helene is, she is an advisor of innovation in Stavanger municipality in the Lighthouse project European Bauhaus Stars and EB Star. She plays a key role in unfolding the ambition of changing the way municipalities, businesses, citizens, and other actors work together. With an educational background from political science and technology studies, she established a creative cluster and ran an independent art gallery, all built up in giving a new life to old industrial building from the mid-18th century. Hello, Helene. Thank you very much for being with us here. Now, tell us, what is your co-creation experience with the new European Bauhaus framework?
I'm sorry, did you lose me? Is everything okay?
Yes, everything is fine, Helene. So
okay.
If you are ready, you can start.
I had to reconnect with my Zoom, so I was quite surprised.
No, we are here. Good, great. I will pass over to you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for inviting me. I truly appreciate this. I'm now situated in Brussels as well for the NEB Festival, where we are presenting our project in very many different channels and arenas. So I'm truly grateful for also this opportunity. As Gosha introduced, I am working with the NEB Star project, and my biggest ambition is to be the change manager and to the provocateur of change in the municipality, but also within the consortium. So the co-creation is a important platform of how we work, and also we have a very different approach compared to Jana. So I will give you a little bit of a background of the project. So it's New European Bauhaus Stavanger, but we are working together with 16 partners, or we're in total 16 partners. So if you could take the next slide, please. So here you have an overview of all our partners, and we are quite diverse from the very beginning with the consortium. So we have universities, we have Prague and Utrecht, the municipalities and their universities. We're also collaborating with some societies and ideal organizations, non-for-profit organizations. And just to mention that this is kind of a first experience for them, being a part of a European funded project, and with all the requirements and the legal aspects of such a process, it has been sort of a milestone to reach for all of us to have these included. We are also the only lighthouse in NEB that have private developers as partners in our project. And that is also an interesting aspect to mention, just due to the co-creational part of the project. It gives us a lot of opportunities because we have, if you take next slide, there you see how we structure the project. And to the left, you see the co-creation process is sort of one frame. We need to, or the ambition of the project is to implement the NEB values in our transformation plan, our municipal master plan, the area, and also the societal plan. And we do that by the testing and the activities that we do in the project together with the partners. So we have the opportunity to align and explore and really investigate and evaluate our activities and tools and principles that we discover together with the partners, so that we sort of hopefully have a approved and a qualifying process as we are moving forward. The two test beds that you see, Pettersgata, that is a city center street, and site 4016 is a brownfield street, brownfield area, where there's one private developer who has bought all the land and is now developing that into a future-oriented cluster for the construction industry. So we are quite diverse from the very beginning, and then we're also expanding to include our colleagues in the municipality, which is quite scattered, and also we have the inhabitants and users and stakeholders of both these areas. So the next slide is showing a photography over Pettersgata, the area, and it's the main street that you see in the middle of the picture, starting from a cathedral, and you have a park and a sort of a pocket. Oh, it's more than a pocket, but it's a huge area, a square rather, which is being developed, and also all along to the street. So we have a multitude of stakeholders that we are getting in touch with and trying to establish relations with. And I was just thinking when Jana presented that, it's quite a struggle, I believe, to be a municipality entering such a neighborhood with all the previous relations and experiences that individual inhabitants have with the municipality. So the need to rebuild trust or introduce oneself and have these trusted relations, it's quite sort of a fragile situation to be in, but it is so important to have that in place in order to not only obtain your goals or the visions that we have for the area, but also being humble enough and to see that we can co-create a vision together. So our project has been very much of figuring out which tools to use in order for the municipality to use that in the planning process, for the private developers to do that as a part of their projecting, and also making the inhabitants realize that they have power and they have an opportunity to engage, not only through hearings and the formal processes, but also that they can engage by acting. And when I speak about the inhabitants, I just want to mention that I have a diverse understanding of that. So also if you have a company, if you're an entrepreneur, and if you're an organization or a volunteer, I mean, it's sort of the complex of it. The next slide is actually showing a specific tool that we are developing and testing in the project. It's the Utopian Future workshop that is facilitated and owned in a way by the University of Stavanger. And they have done a lot of these workshops together with different stakeholder groups in the area of Pedersgata and also at site. Even though site is an industrial area, it has a surrounding of neighboring residents. So we try to engage them and involve them in defining the future of the space there as well. And what is important to mention is that we are not defining and targeting the groups necessarily of these workshops, and but it's important for us that we sort of sense the energy and get in touch with the inhabitants that are active and curious and themselves define an interest and come to us. So it's sort of a mutual testing and relation building, but it's as a concrete way to enact the NEB values of inclusion, not that we are colonizing which stakeholders we are including into our projects. Further on, I want to give you an example from Pedersgata of a concrete project where a previous printing factory was closed. The building of a printing factory, super rigidly constructed with thick walls and floors and beams, and you couldn't. I think the owners couldn't see anything but module-based offices for a way forward for the building. But then in 2013, quite a few creative entrepreneurs, and me included, had a look at this building and really saw the opportunity to establish a creative cluster with a lot of different kinds of activities going on. And for that vision to be owned by the owners, the property owners and the developers, and also with the municipality, it was a huge struggle, which I don't have the time to dive into, but it's like, it's about finding the narrative that everybody could relate to, right? So entering or using the narrative of also being a gift to the neighborhood, to be a part of a not a gentrification, but be a part of a more bottom-up development of the area based on good values and the humble approach. And little by little, this place and this building developed to become and take over the whole building of, I think, 4,000 square meters. And the recent or the last project being developed is a theater for toddlers, which is quite interesting. And that is, I wanted to mention it because what they, now with being that specific on which group of audience they want to attract, they realize that these kind of toddlers, they need their mothers and daddies and caretakers to bring along, and maybe they have siblings, and maybe they should have a place to reflect after. So they built this garden. Maybe they should also be able to touch things, and everything should be like tactile and have textures. So they also had this garden where they could pick some berries and they could explore. So all these sort of walls and the ceiling and everything is very sort of the awareness of having or with which kind of audience you want to attract. So I think it's a great way to involve and interact with the neighborhood and a group of sort of audience that does not necessarily have the time or the resources or, you know, the life situation to enjoy cultural activities. If you take the next slide, please. So this is an area where we have a lot of old buildings with, it used to be storage, it used to be corn storage, also have trucks and industry, and the building on the left side is also used to be sort of a public washing place for with showers and sort of a area for the workers of the industry and the fishermen and sort of a, so it's a working collective washing house. So sort of these kind of stories have not been told, they have been forgotten, and the buildings have been forgotten, and now we have seen that individuals, creatives, social entrepreneurs have already discovered these places and filled the buildings with life, but they are so poor that we need to renovate it properly, and they don't have that finances. So we want to see through Napstar, how can we help them? How can we empower them? And, you know, sort of establish a network and an ecosystem where this works. So we are also tapping into financial and partnership models. We're tapping into how can the municipality regulate differently, and can we find ways to sort of take care of the energy and that belonging, because this is really such a wonderful way to express the aesthetics of a place and the sense of the place. Also remembering what we have been and our heritage.
Helen, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but we need to accelerate a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I'm so enthusiastic, you know.
That's perfectly fine. So we share your enthusiasm, but I just took a look at the clock. So thanks.
Thank you. So I think if we go to slide 10, maybe jump through that we have activities and events to sort of be present in the area, as also Jana mentioned. And this, one more, please. So I just want to mention in short a concrete tool. It is the partner of ours, Helen Hart Architects. They are fairly known for their wooden structures, but they have also done interesting method development, connecting with the sort of relational aesthetics. They usually go to sites and get in touch with the place using their sensoric apparatus and creating artistic representations of their experience. Now they take that method and expose it to groups that they have been in a process where they have done collaborations and workshops with artists, with people that entered a cafe space where they were active doing that workshop, and then also they took the method into the streets. So the picture is showing sort of a open public workshop event where they invite whomever are interested to sort of reflect on the place and the qualities and draw on these windows. They could draw new potential on the buildings, suggesting things, or they could draw their feelings and reactions, either related to what you could see through the window or just, you know, censoring the space. So that is I would say, a quite important aspect of what we are doing in NEB and what we're doing in our lighthouses. And if we are to take into consideration the values of sustainability and of aesthetic and inclusion, I think we also need to include the space and the quality of a place in a different kind of way than what we do today from the desk, doing planning with maps and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to have this, see how it develops going forward. You could also just go through the next slides where you see Helen Hart. They did the same in a pop-up office that the municipality created to be sort of more on a have a presence there, not only like through events, but also being available all the time, and also renting out this little micro office of 8 square meters to different kind of actors. So inviting for dialogue and curiosity, and also being able to disseminate the work. It was kind of interesting having these functions in the street. You could go one further. There's the meetings taken outside, eating ice cream from the next door neighbor. And then you have the site. Sorry that I'm spent too much time talking about Pedalskata, but this, as you will see, is sort of very different space. You can take one further. The last thing I will mention then, one more, that's a building that is recently constructed. This is a picture of Anna. She's an artist that is hired into the project as a consultant. And her assignment is to investigate how, or explore how can an artist be use the competence in a developing process, and also in a lighthouse project with EU. And we are mutually learning, you know, how can we make use of an artist, which perspectives do you bring in, and to see how we can co-create with that group as well, because the public commissioning of artworks is sort of that's one thing, but then also I think opening for that kind of competence together with social entrepreneurs and the inhabitants, I think we have a fruitful way going forward. I think I have to end there, but thank you.
Yes, unfortunately, we will have a Q&A later on, so definitely we will have more questions. And I know that you wanted also to present one of your initiatives, so we can show the slide later on. And thank you very much. So this is definitely a convincing and successful approach, the second one that we listen about today. So this is amazing also. And what I learned is an obvious statement about the power of inhabitants, about the power of citizens, who are then supported by the European Bauhaus framework. Thanks a lot, Helena. And now we have reached the end of the first part, and we can start the second part. Please remember, the Q&A is also open for you, so you are more than welcome to post your questions on the chat or intervene later on. And now over to you, Kamal.
Thank you, Gosia. And I welcome you all for the second session, which is multidisciplinary perspectives on next generation heritage solutions. After the very two insightful presentations and inspirational talks on co-creation, design, and managing change with a multitude of stakeholders by Helen Elliott and Jana Michael. Thank you, both of you. I like to highlight here that we have noticed that the connections between the guidelines of New European Bauhaus, which is talking about sustainability, inclusion, and beauty and aesthetics, it's becoming very pronounced. And the success of NEB movement is also very evident in the multiplicity of projects and case practices. Needless to say, there is a long way to go. And on this note, we'd like to begin this session, multidisciplinary perspectives on next generation heritage solutions. To introduce myself, I'm Komal Poddar. I'm an expert for built environment, culture, and heritage at ICLEI, and I'll be moderating this session with our experts. In today's fast-paced world, the challenges of safeguarding and promoting cultural heritage demand nothing less than a dynamic and innovative multidisciplinary approach. And these approaches are essential for addressing the challenges associated for preserving and promoting cultural heritage in our contemporary society. By integrating insights from various disciplines such as history, technology, conservation, sociology, anthropology, these approaches offer a holistic understanding of the complexities involved. And in doing so, they facilitate the development of innovative strategies which not only safeguard the cultural identity, but also leverage technological advancements very sensitively. And moreover, these approaches enable the formulation of solutions that consider the intricate interplay of social, economic, and environmental factors, which we saw in our previous two presentations also. And they foster greater public engagement and appreciation for cultural heritage. And these interdisciplinary collaborative efforts ensure that heritage conservation is very relevant, and it will remain effective in the face of evolving global dynamics. To discuss more on this, we have today with us 3 distinguished professionals and academicians who have engaged in multidisciplinary actions at various levels for energy efficiency and practices towards heritage conservation. We have Dr. Stylianos Karatzas. He's a Mercury postdoctoral fellow at Institute of Manufacturing at University of Cambridge. He has been an adjunct lecturer in Civil Engineering Department at the University of Patras in the field of smart infrastructure, transportation, and cities since 2018. He holds a PhD in Civil Engineering and has a bachelor degree in Electrical Engineering and Computer Science and Masters in Automation, Control Systems, also Operations Management. And he has been working for data-driven research focused on infrastructure asset management and currently coordinating the EU project Twinergy, which aims to enable positive changes on how citizens and communities consume energy by empowering them to track their energy use and to proactively participate in the market. Welcome, Dr. Karatzas. Our second speaker today, we have Ms. Rachel Demaris. She's an innovative management engineer and National Polytechnic of the National Polytechnic Institute of Lorraine. She has a degree in environmental management and urbanization, and her professional goal is to support the development of companies through innovations and reorganizations. And she started her career with the growth capital investment sector in clean tech business angels, and she joined the CSTB, the French Scientific and Technical Center for Buildings, in the Marketing International Development team. She led several market researches on construction products, software tools, BIM applications, client satisfaction, and she joined in 2019 R2M Solution as project and marketing manager. We welcome Ms. Damaris. And our third speaker is Dr. Samatia Rizou. She's the R&D manager at Singular Logic, and she leads the multidisciplinary research team in the areas of data technologies and AI-enabled applications. She holds a diploma in electrical and computer engineering from the National Technical University of Athens and a PhD degree in the field of distributed systems in the University of Stuttgart. She has more than 10 years of experience as a principal investigator in European funded R&D projects and has been awarded the Mercury Fellowship for her research in area of cloud computing, and also has been the industrial supervisor for more than 5 PhD students. And she's currently involved as the project coordinator in several EU funded projects along with the Inherit project and to develop innovative ICT solutions for energy efficiency. Welcome, Dr. Rizou. We have a very distinguished panel and experts here for discussing co-creating next generation solutions for cultural heritage buildings. To discuss the importance of innovation and the polyphony of various actors and to bring multiple perspectives and knowledge. I thank you all experts for being here. And I begin the panel discussion with a very basic and a very important question, which is open for all 3 speakers here. The question is that could you share in brief from the lens of your perspective, what is the need for multidisciplinary approaches and co-creation for preservation of cultural heritage? We can start with Dr. Stylianos.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm very glad that I participated in this discussion that brings up a very interesting subject of energy efficiency and sustainability in general in cultural heritage. Answering to the question, multidisciplinary approaches and co-creation are essential for cultural heritage preservation due to the complexity and challenges involved. These challenges range from deterioration due to climate change, pollution, natural or man-made disasters, to social discrimination and exclusion. Addressing these challenges can offer opportunities to drive climate action and support the transition towards a healthier, greener, and fairer society. To achieve this, we need new design solutions, resilient enough to the changing conditions and sensitive enough to the local culture. Also, it is important to highlight that these solutions should build on citizens' participation and on inclusivity. Therefore, multidisciplinary approaches that integrate diverse perspectives, technologies, and methodologies are required to enhance stakeholder participation and engagement. In this context, a wide range of experts from different fields of humanities and behavioral sciences, as well as engineers, architects and designers, technology developers, policymakers, and citizens need to collaborate to foster a sense of ownership and shared responsibility in preserving cultural heritage. So I believe that it is important to include experts at all stages and at all levels. For example, ethical, legal, and policy experts can provide insights regarding the ethical and legal considerations of heritage preservation efforts and explore how international conventions and national legislation shape the management and the protection of cultural heritage. On the other hand, environmental and economy experts can assist in promoting sustainable approaches that support local economies, while at the same time minimizing negative impacts on heritage sites. Or health experts can shed light on the potential health and well-being benefits of engaging with cultural heritage. For example, define the healing effects of heritage activities, such as visiting museums or participating in heritage conservation projects. Concluding, I would like to say that providing a common language is a necessary part of any solution for overcoming disciplinary and organizational fragmentation and enabling diverse stakeholders to create shared narratives for cultural heritage preservation.
Thank you, Dr. Garatsas, for mentioning the different types of experts that we need to engage. Ms. Rachel, could you answer this question?
Yes, thank you for having us having me representing Etienne Verse from CA and working on the Calèche project that is focused on historic building. So my answer will focus on this aspect of historic building because indeed it's crucial to have multidisciplinary approach for those aspects because it required a balance between preserving their integrity and their aesthetic, but also integrate modern sustainability standards and also comfort, environmental standards, and so on. And this can only be achieved through collaboration between diverse experts like scientific, but also engineer, historian, sociologist, and industrial partners. So yeah, it's really this multidisciplinary approach.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it must study all aspects of making and living and preserving historic building. And it requires to understand a lot of aspects like historical data to understand the building, but also its surrounding environment. But also technical analysis to understand the products and how they are aging and are they still robust or not. And for that, we need to create database to have all this knowledge. And yeah, to have this kind of database, we need to work closely with all discipline to have all the KPIs that we need to have this product. And on top of that, we develop those buildings. They live thanks to the people who live in those buildings. So we need to adopt the point of view of the inhabitants. And sometimes inhabitants, they can have experience cognitive bias when searching for information or making decisions. So we need to be able to have a step further to be able to inform them correctly. So that's why in Calèche, our goal is to build a decision support tool dedicated to historic building with a multi-benefit approach. And by presenting the information in a balanced way and that incorporate feedback and really that supports the process of decision making. But it will not only be an IT tool because we also want to include processes.
Mm-hmm.
And those processes include multi-benefit initial technical evaluation on site, how to do the evaluation of what we have to start with. and also how to engage people in this operation, because we want to develop for them because they will live in those buildings. So that's the overall approach of Kalesh and a bit what we think about multi-benefit in the aspect of cultural heritage.
Thank you. I'm going to come to you about the decision making later. It's good that you mentioned it already. Dr. Rizu, could you answer this question in short, and then I move to the next one?
Okay. Hi also from my side, and thanks for giving this opportunity to participate in the interesting discussion. I fully second, of course, the opinions that have been already heard from the other two panelists. I think they are they have already described very much the whole meaning, let's say, of this multidisciplinary approach. From our side, I would like just to add here also from our experience in Inherit project, we rely on a three-pillar approach that we include a methodological scientific pillar that will systematically define potential interventions in the buildings, a systematic methodological way to assess the level of the sustainability and other aspects of the buildings. Another pillar which is more technological, that it focuses on some technologies that might enable new services to support decision making at different levels of building life cycle. And a last one, which is related to the social aspects, and it's related exactly to the co-creation. So from our side, I can say that of course, we need multidisciplinarity. It's a very challenging task in trying to balance all these different pillars and all these different disciplines, and try to provide solutions that I address and take into consideration on these different aspects. It's also a challenging exercise for us that we work in this ambitious project, trying to be more open-minded, to see the same problem from different perspectives, and try really to create some solutions that can be acceptable from all different stakeholders.
Thank you, Dr. Rizu. Yes, I'll come to you about the Inherit three pillars at a later stage. I have one specific question now to Dr. Karatsas. You are working with digital twins and modeling. So in this case, how can my question is about interoperability to achieve, can be achieved at different scales and uses of historic buildings? And what are the gaps that you think, as per your expertise and experiences, that the stakeholders need to address in this case?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the question of interoperability when it comes to digital twins is one of the most crucial issues, especially when considering the multiple interconnected scales of applications, as well as the different uses of buildings. So since it is a complex matter, there are a lot of factors that can be considered, depending on the focus and objectives of each specific case. And I will outline three main points. First, robust infrastructure. With this term, I'm referring to the required technology as well as information that underpins the digital twin. This includes the entire digital physical spectrum, from precise mapping of size of a site to the uninterrupted flow of data. Obviously, this encompasses multiple considerations such as sensor development, communication technologies, data management, and so forth. Although the specifics will vary from case to case, a holistic approach that considers the system infrastructure as an integrated whole can facilitate the development process. Secondly, and tying into my previous point, the system architecture itself is crucial. Even though not all requirements are known from the beginning, from the start, it is important to try to map out and define to the best of our abilities the related parameters in the design phase, even if this means slightly delaying the implementation process. Furthermore, the system architecture must be flexible enough to allow for modifications in response to the realities of the project. So these 2 points, meticulous system design and system flexibility, are indispensable, and especially in the context of multiple scales and different building uses. And my third point, during the development, it is important not to lose sight of the objective. Christopher Alexander, speaking about the introduction of computer-aided design tools in the 60s, remarked that we do not wander about our houses, hammer and saw in hand, wondering where we can apply them. So similarly, these technologies we are discussing are being applied with some objective in mind and are addressed at certain stakeholders. Therefore, the most important aspect that can help us achieve interoperability is keeping the stakeholders as an integral part of the system development. At the end of the day, it is the people immediately involved that will provide the connection between the various parts of the system and those that will ultimately determine if it is successful. And also to touch briefly on the gaps, there are various technological issues and questions, cross-platform communication, information handling, hardware and software developments that can be identified and addressed. But to build on my previous remark regarding stakeholders, one of the biggest gaps is connecting the end users with research and development and providing people with the right tools. So this is my opinion, the main challenge facing the deployment of such technologies like digital twins.
Thank you. That was a very honest opinion also about mentioning the different challenges, the gaps, and also to accept that sometimes you may have to delay results or the implementation through your stakeholder consultations and the need of the project. That was, and also you highlighted the need of multidisciplinary experts that needs to be engaged through so many different data management, system infrastructure, system architecture that gives it the real meaning of multidisciplinary. Thank you so much. My question now is to Ms. Demaris about your project Kaleshe, which you have been working on, and it aims to develop the comprehensive online hub for decision making to integrate multi-benefit decision support system, which you mentioned previously. Could you elaborate how these technologies can be utilized in historic buildings aimed at adaptive reuse?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So indeed, this decision support making tool is aimed to help the renovation of historic building. So our first question were who we target, who will be the user of this tool. And we came to the decision that it will not be the experts and not the citizen. It will be experienced building owners like municipality and private owners who already have some competencies on buildings, but need an extra push for this specific case of historic building. And then if we have a look at the process of development, so we have 3 big phases, but yeah, there is many more steps. So first, we want to rank all the benefits. As we say earlier, it's a multi-benefit approach, but how to rank them? So there is a big work to rank them. It will be based on desktop research, interviews, but also we want to introduce innovative tools like artificial intelligence and machine learning. So it's very new, but we are trying to do that, to incorporate that. And then we will develop a database. Actually, we will further develop, but because those databases are existing, of construction products and techniques that are specifically suited for historic buildings. So they are named Iber Atlas and Iber Tool. They were developed in another project, and we will build on them to go further and to complete them. And the last point is to develop renovation scenarios. So based on those existing construction products and techniques, the ranking of the benefits, and as I say earlier, on the initial evaluation of the building and the integration of stakeholder needs, we need to mix all that and to develop a renovation scenario. So after, how can this tool will be used by those experienced building owners? So first, we want that tool to facilitate collaboration between those building owners, but also architects, engineers, like a platform for integration. This will also be a hub to integrate all the data from various sources. So there will be a BIM model. We have a use case in Italy where we develop a BIM of an historic building, which is quite a challenge. We want also to have energy simulation, but also heritage assessment and advanced analytic of the building. So every data information will be found on this same platform. And the idea is also to have something very user-friendly and that provide interactive visualization and scenario-based analysis to help stakeholders to take their decision. And the last step of this, the last abilities of this tool is to incorporate real-time monitoring. Because monitoring and maintenance of historic building is also quite a challenge. And the performance and the longevity of those buildings really can depend on how they are maintained. So we also try to have some sensor to be able to have real-time data. So all those aspects will be put in place on our use cases. And really the heart of this project is to combine those three pillars, so multidisciplinarity, data-driven, and user-centric approach. So that's a big challenge. We only started 6 months ago, so there's still a lot to do, but we will be happy to update you further on that.
Yeah, that would be very interesting because you actually mentioned the whole life process, starting from data collection, engagement with materials and sensors, and also monitoring. So we are actually touching on all the three aspects of energy efficiency in buildings. Please, we would like to be updated of all this process. Thank you very much. Now I have a question to Dr. Rizu. Your areas of research around cloud computing, Internet of Things, and its applications. Can you explain a bit the role of Internet of Things in preventive conservation and which variables are crucial? For example, environmental variables or material variables. Please, over to you.
Thanks, Omar. Many thanks for this question. I think we already started to discuss about this question already from the previous answers. We talked already about data collection and real-time data collection at the site. So Internet of Things basically provides an interconnected environment at the site level and facilitate the collection of information at real time. And this is obviously very beneficial since it avoids manual collection of relevant information that can be erroneous and can be also time consuming. So it really improves automation and facilitate the data collection. On the other hand, since we talk about cultural heritage sites, this comes with certain restrictions. I mean, we see the potential solutions from the point of view of the technologies, but normally these sites have a lot of restrictions on how new equipment can be installed at site, for instance, installation of sensors and so on. What we do as an approach right now in Inherit, I guess this might be also the process in other projects, is that we try to list all potential variables that we want to monitor, and they are very relevant for our analysis tools. This might include, as you mentioned, environmental variables like indoor quality, energy consumption at real time, consumption about heating, cooling, and so on. And then we try to map how we can basically retrieve this information, either automatically or let's say indirectly. We can get energy consumption through energy bills without really, if we do not want real-time information and so on. And at the next stage, we want to see what is feasible in a cultural heritage site and what is not feasible. So we have a so-called inventory hub of measures that in Inherit that we try to systematically enlist potential interventions and potential actions that we can that are acceptable. And of course, this is a customized, let's say, a list for each cultural heritage site. There is no one size fits all. Each cultural heritage site has its own characteristics, and in one case it might be feasible to and acceptable to install a certain sensor. In another, it might be not. So we make all this exercise to see what is feasible and what is not, and then we end up how far we can go to apply these technologies, like Internet of Things, in cultural heritage sites.
Yeah, thank you. I think you made a very good remark about the one size fits all, which is not applicable to cultural heritage. And these buildings are very challenging. Also, it's important for the assessment and feasibility of innovative technology to be used. All of three speakers here have made very interesting comments. I have more questions, but because we have limited time, I will have to move on to the next session. I will we will come back to all these questions in the question answer session after the session on co-creation with an experience sharing session with ZSI. Thank you so much. Yeah. And over to you, my colleagues.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kamal. So I will share my screen.
Thank you. So let me present myself, Pamela Bauta from the Center for Social Innovation, which is a Vienna-based institute. We are grateful to support the Inherit project with the co-creation process, which is also defined as a process through all entire phases throughout the project. We were thinking about a sort of visual and atmospheric intervention to bring in another perspective, maybe also closely linked to the NAP values. And I asked my colleague, Regina Maikotai, to start with the dia show we have prepared for you.
Yes.
And just to give you two more lines about this, we also started only 6 months ago. And I want to show you some of the results from the very first design thinking session during our kick-off meeting in Athens. And then I will tell you what was finally the result out of this design thinking session. Please start, Regina.
Okay, so this was the last slide.
Yeah, thank you. So you see, our colleagues from the consortium have been very creative. And the question behind this design thinking session was, who would be the perfect stakeholder to your pilot? And you see, there were some interesting approaches. In this slide, you can see, for example, with Regea, our partner Regea in Croatia, is that our stakeholders should be proactive, curious, open-minded, and ready for transformation. And all our pilot partners started with the process, and we did a lot of in-between steps before we could conclude with an overall vision for our work package, the work package 2 in our case, which is to support the co-creation and collaborative knowledge production with a focus on the social layer. Let me read that for you, just to connect these different pictures now with the final text, which was coming out from this process. Cultural heritage is dynamic for all and a container for multiple values. Against this background, Inherit's innovative practices and technologies shall contribute to creative climate leadership, new strategies for the sensitive valorization of cultural heritage. Furthermore, cultural heritage management shall be improved by the reflection of social responsibility and the values of the new European Bauhaus. And at this point, I will ask my colleague to switch to the other PowerPoint presentation we have prepared for you. And to my role today, as moderating a dialogue, we were inviting 3 of our colleagues. We are going to have a short discussion on 2 questions we have prepared for you. And after this dialogue, we would like to lead the dialogue into a polylogue and open up for the audience to contribute with their thoughts and further questions maybe. Yes, thank you. Maybe the next one. Yes. And we wanted to show to you how we thought that the best way would be to manage the co-creation processes in our project. And we started with a co-design phase. So this is still ongoing, and this has to be understood as an internal activity together with all consortium colleagues. So we were co-designing the interventions, the methods, and also the approach of our labs, which are social labs. We have 8 social labs around Europe. And we are at the start to kick off the social lab soon in May with our labs. And you see, there is not only this layer of the social labs around the co-creation, but also the so-called multi-stakeholder forum. So there will be another layer linking together horizontal expertise, but also vertical expertise. And this is quite important to our project, as we think that the multi-stakeholder forum and the social labs will contribute to the mutual learning, but not only, they will also enable our open decision-making throughout the process. And you can see that we will have another 3rd phase, the co-production. So everything is in a collaborative mode. And we will also go into a co-assessment throughout the social labs. And let me also tell you that the co-creation is based on a multi-stakeholder concept linked to the quadruple helix, but not only. There are also some particular aspects from quintuple helix we're considering. And this is mirrored in placemaking activities, also bringing the focus on the environments around the cultural heritage, artifacts and buildings into our research. And this co-creation and co-research, so to say, is not only a structured process, but we have also some free spaces where we could enable open-ended elements to boost our creativity. Furthermore, all this is going to be creating new understanding of what these places could mean, apart from the technology innovation, but also in terms of the valorization. So we're working on sensitive valorization concepts around these cultural heritage buildings. So I want to freeze just to give you a very brief introduction to what we are doing. And now I would like to invite my colleagues to the floor to have a short discussion with me. And this is Marco Solonga from Regia. He's head of building section. Then Elias Sakelaris from ICLEI, from Athens. He's one of the senior research associates there. Then my colleague Agnès Duperron from Bouillouche. She's engineer in environmental engineering. Let's open the floor to this. We have prepared 2 questions because we wanted to bring in also a very personal biographical aspect. Who are the researchers in our multi and transdisciplinary team? So we wanted to give faces to what we are doing and the expertise we can bring in. And the very first question I want to address to Marco maybe is, considering your disciplinary background and the praxis you have, how does this contribute to our project in general, but also to the individual pilot?
Okay, hello Pamela, hello everyone. In my opinion, and I will reflect now on I'm architect, but also very used to working in this multi-dimension projects and environments. And I believe that looking at the composition of this consortium of partners that make Inherit project, it really shows a quality mix of different institutions and people, partners on the project that come from different backgrounds, some more technical, some more humanistic, some more scientific, but I would dare to say that all have one creative nerve, that all of them have one creative nerve and desire to research and search for new solutions. And the agency that I work at, Regea, also is a multidisciplinary team that works together every day in interdisciplinary manner on various projects. And regarding New European Bauhaus, the great value and the strength of this initiative lies in this, that it sets such way of working as a condition or a standard, because it is completely clear to us that only in this way of mode of working we can achieve all these very great and complex targets and goals of reaching climate neutrality or responding to all possible crises that we face today, or coming to New European Bauhaus, very important idea or interest to transform the places we live into a more beautiful, sustainable, and inclusive ones.
Okay, thank you, Marco. So may I address the same questions to Elias from ICLEI?
Thank you, Pamela. Hello, everyone. Introducing myself, I'm Elias Akelaris, an architect representing ICLEI, an NGO who owns the pilot building in Greece. ICLEI is focusing on protecting the environment and the cultural heritage in Greece for 50 years now. One of our main objectives, and mine as well as an architect, is to preserve the cultural identity of a place through its historic buildings. But at the same time, we need to adapt to climate change, and in order to achieve this in our pilot, we ought to monitor firstly and then optimize the energy performance of the building. The second part is very challenging in our pilot building, in which antiquities are allocated, as our interventions have to respect these cultural assets. Additionally, our NGO has a lot of experience in awareness raising of the public, and we will use this knowledge to engage people in co-creating, as Pamela said before, the scenario solutions, but also disseminating the knowledge widely during and after the end of the project.
Thank you. Anais, so
yeah.
Maybe you want to join.
Hi everyone. So as an environmental engineer, my input to the Inherit project is obviously more focused on the sustainability aspects. So I can, for example, bring ideas on what should be taken into account in the environmental assessment, or suggest low carbon solutions, for example. And also working for a huge real estate and construction company, I also have a good vision of innovative solutions in the construction industry. So I can bring those to the table for our pilot, obviously, but also for the Inherit project overall.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And maybe you also want to answer already to the second part of the questions related to the NAP values. How can we benefit from the NAP values from this framework in our pilots?
Yeah, sure. So our building is in Metz, in the city center of Metz, and it's a very old and an iconic building, so with an old emblematic facade that will be preserved. So the aesthetic is a very important dimension of our project, and sustainability also drives the renovation works. So as we are creating housing with high energy efficiency, so we used good insulation and new energy systems, for example. We are also creating gardens in a very urban environment. So that's how our pilot will bring to the ground the NEB values. And at Bouygues, we are mostly engineers and businessmen and women. So we will largely benefit from stakeholders with other backgrounds, mainly on societal aspects. For example, initiatives to better include local stakeholders like the social labs are not something we would typically do at Bouygues. So that's very interesting for us. And us at Bouygues, we can bring more technical and financial solutions to the table.
Thank you. Any thoughts by you, Elias or Marco?
Our pilot is a historic building integrated into a wider area with a distinct cultural identity. With the HERIT project, in collaboration, of course, with our partners, we aim to optimize the energy performance without making interventions that will alter its cultural identity. And this way, we will contribute to preserving the aesthetic. Additionally, the innovative practices that will be used to monitor and optimize the energy performance of the pilot building will, of course, lead to achieving sustainability. Also, co-creating these practices with the stakeholders will achieve inclusiveness and ensure that every voice will be heard during the process. Our pilot will benefit, of course, from the diverse backgrounds of the stakeholders, as we want different perspectives to be taken into account for a let's say, dimensional approach to solutions. And the stakeholders will also benefit from gaining knowledge of such innovative solutions and use them, of course, to preserve cultural heritage on their own.
Thank you. Regina, may I ask you to show the next slides so we can also, yes, here again. So we see now the headquarters.
I take the chance to say we can be brief because our time is running and we need to be on schedule.
Yes. So maybe Marco, you want to say a few words also to the second part of the question. You are still muted. Sorry, you have to unmute.
Sorry. So we already commented our vision some minutes ago, and I would just like to relate this to NEB, or anyway, in establishing that vision for pilot, we seek to have a proactive, curious, very important word. Gosha brought it during the meeting in Greece, and so we put it in the vision. Open-minded stakeholders who are ready and open to transformation of place they live, and that is actually start of a foundation for achieving the project goals. And in the center, so there are people were represented by this drawing in a very simple, almost pictogrammic way. And what is actually you have on drawing is a section of a pilot building site where this house is, that is a city administration headquarters, is on the main square, and it's on the left, and in the middle it is a square. So highlighting that there is a outdoor space also. So we have a inner space of a building and outdoor space that we like to connect a public space to bear in mind. And of course, there is the trees as a symbol of nature and a green infrastructure. So cultural heritage is not just the buildings, but also environment. And after people and these buildings or architecture, urban space, there is a third component, and it's represented by these circles, meaning process or activities that expand from this local group of this project and the pilot with outcomes of this project to have emphasis surely on other circles that represent regional, national, or EU level, and this is EU level. So these maybe three components are connecting in a comprehensive manner in a way to bring new European Bauhaus values and principle in this project and these activities.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marco. Thank you. I think we can show the other visions with the buildings to give a flavor what we were working on. And I'm not sure, but there should be also some other pilots today attending, and maybe there are some comments from the other partners in our Zoom group today. In other case, I would say, please also show the final slide or the next slide with the third vision. Yes. So you see. Okay, and as far as understood, we will run out of time a little bit.
Yes, we are short on time, so
yes. So in this case, if there are some other comments from the other pilot partners, I would invite now. If there's somebody attending. Okay. In any case, then I would finalize with a few words for the next steps. As I said, we are going to kick off our social lab soon from May on, but there will be this second layer, so to say, for collaboration, which is also open for further stakeholders, specialists, as well as representatives from the diverse spheres of the quadruple helix. And this is going to start with an event in autumn this year. And I just want to stop with one thought about the new European Bauhaus, which we do understand as a whole way of life, which we would like to bring on the ground in research and innovation, taking advantage of this principle of beauty, sustainability, and togetherness. And the multi-stakeholder forum will be also a potential space to discuss, of course, the NAP values and principles in a real-world problem context. So I would like now to thank all of the participants, the colleagues who did the dialogue with me, and I think we can stop at this point. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much, our dear pilots and our dear colleagues from the Center for Social Innovation for this hands-on experience and practical stories from the ground. Since we have a fresh perspective on what happens in Inherit project, we would also wrap up what was said in the two first sessions before we open floor for the discussion. So we prepared a short summary from you with the main takeaways, as we have seen it here in South Germany, in Freiburg, while listening to you. But this is just the beginning of the story. I will start with the message from Stylianos that we should not forget the healing effect of the heritage, which drives our actions. And for this, we also need to consult the different experts from various disciplines to find the right solution at the various stages of the project. And this also leads to the idea of implementing a holistic approach, flexibility, and interoperability of solutions to achieve various goals and to also operate at various levels of experience and expertise. We learned from Helena about the importance of managing change with the stakeholders and how to also integrate their needs in the tools and how to know which tools to use. Also, they need to realize their power. And when we as project managers or consortium partners realize the power of the citizens and the power of the framework that European Bauhaus is providing, we will also provide more powerful solutions. This was also something that Rachel, who left us unfortunately right now, but thank you very much, Rachel, for joining us today. She said that we need to connect people with the technology. Sometimes the stakeholders simply don't understand what we are talking about when it comes to new solutions, new technologies, AI, digital twins, and so on. We need to find the language, and this is what Kalasha project is going to deliver with an innovative support tool to drive proper decisions. And from our coordinator, Martina Stamatia, we have heard about the necessity to map the challenges, to understand buildings, to understand the sites, including the stakeholders, and to list all the potential variables, and also to understand what is feasible and what is not in the unique buildings and unique heritage. And from Jana, representing Culture and Campus project from Rotterdam, we have heard about the importance of the space and the inclusion, how important it is to make the space that we have in the projects as inclusive as possible, and to allow artistic events at various scales with children, with young people, but also with older people and professional designers. All of them needs to be engaged, and still we are facing the challenge on how to decide about the materials and designs. But if we include the powerful stakeholders and citizens, I think this change is possible. And this being said, I would like to open the discussion, addressing our guest speakers who kindly accepted our invitation, but also our pilots who are here today. So this is a unique opportunity, and I hope it doesn't come as a surprise to our pilots if you are ready to take some questions. And if there are some questions, I think this is a good opportunity to wrap up our meeting today. If not, please raise your hand if you have a question. If not, we have plenty of questions since we share the big enthusiasm that Helena spread at the beginning. So we can also start with our list of many questions.
Okay, I think I will take over from Gosia. Thank you for very beautifully summarizing this session, which has given us so many ideas and terminologies and new things to look forward into cultural heritage and energy efficiency. So I'll continue the session, which we left before, about expertise in energy efficiency. I have a question for Dr. Karatsas. You mentioned the assessment of proposed interventions, and in case there are any delays that those should be accounted for. So I was curious, that is this coming from any of your experiences? If you could share it with us, an example, and maybe also you could highlight that, what are the most common misconceptions of energy efficiency in historic buildings that you have come across, and how should you be addressing that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, as stated previously, the involvement of multiple stakeholders is crucial to the success of any project, regardless the technologies deployed. So it may be further said that without adequate engagement on behalf of community, no technical solution will be 100% successful. So this is especially true when we consider cultural heritage-related actions. And first of all, it is important to note that information technologies play a crucial role in augmenting tools, co-creation tools. In other words, digital media makes it much easier to create frameworks and initiatives that lead to increased stakeholders' engagement and agency. Therefore, I believe that the design and the development of a proper digital toolkit for enabling co-creating activities is important, especially when tackling complex and multi-layered challenges such as energy efficiency in heritage buildings. So this connects with my previous comment on the need for robust infrastructure, detailed architecture, and clear objectives when developing such systems.
Great, thank you. Thank you for elaborating that for us again. Which also I make a note of it, that also the implementation, the ideation is more important than implementation. Do you agree to that? Or it's both of them are equally important? Could you elaborate a bit on that?
Yes, this is starting with the ideation phase, where stakeholders first conceptualize interventions for heritage buildings. One of the main challenges is combining the preservation of historical values with modern energy-saving technologies. heritage buildings are characterized by unique architecture, materials, and construction methods, and that may conflict with standard energy efficiency practices. During the implementation phase, the main challenge is to address issues related to users' thermal comfort, project financing, and at the same time, avoid interventions that can be detrimental for the values of the heritage buildings. Furthermore, ensuring balance between energy efficiency and heritage conservation requires an understanding of both technical and cultural aspects. And additional implementation challenges include practical constraints such as limited funding sources, lack of skilled labor, for example, and unforeseen difficulties may also arise during construction, leading to delays, cost overruns, and quality issues. So then in the maintenance phase, the long-term success of energy-saving measures requires proactive maintenance and monitoring to adapt to changing conditions and technological progress. However, resource constraints and ownership turnover and insufficient maintenance methods often require additional effort. So, as a conclusion for these different phases at the whole life cycle of a project, this is a complex question since each of the phases contains its own specific characteristics. And furthermore, these may vary from case to case, as already mentioned. So I may differentiate the implementation phase, not because it is more challenging, but the complexities at this phase of balancing heritage preservation with energy efficiency goals are becoming most apparent. That being said, I would argue that an approach that considers the challenges holistically throughout the consecutive phases would be an efficient way of addressing them.
That's good that you make the statement that all three phases are important, and
Of
also
course.
engaging the right people at the right time is the main challenge, and that should be addressed. Well, thank you for answering this question. So I hand over to my colleague Gosia, if we have any more questions.
Thank you very much, Komal, and thank you, Stylianos, for your answer. I also noted down your statement about the implementation phase and the processes before, so this is really important to say. And I would like to come back to Helene to ask you about beauty, because we were discussing a lot with our technical experts about harmony, the synchronization of various aspects that you need to achieve in order to provide a coherent and a holistic experience and a renovation. But what about the beauty? How do you think we can balance the need for beauty with the European Bauhaus and the technological regeneration and transformation? Helene, please. Oh, I think we have lost Helene. Then I will have a question to our coordinator, Martina. And this question will be quite similar one. You have an extensive experience with technological background and the technological project. How is it for you to work with the quite difficult to define concept of beauty?
That's a little bit difficult question for me. However, I think it's really very much interesting. I mean, I have started to get more familiar with the NEP values. I have participated in some initial webinars and co-creation workshops, and for me, it's really fascinating to try to experience all these values that are promoted through the NEP initiative, including beauty, but also sustainability, inclusiveness, and so on. So it's really very relevant for us to understand, as I said earlier, the dimensions beyond the technology and how these affect the cultural heritage in a more broader manner, including some technological technological interventions, how they can affect the beauty of the building and how we can facilitate that. I think this is a very interesting experience. And if you allow me, Gosia, I would like also to add a bit on the discussion we had before with also with Stylianos about these different phases of ideation, implementation, and what is the most important. I fully agree that all the phases are really important, and I think that it is also important to have a kind of feedback loop and a continuous, let's say, iteration among these different phases. Also, from the technological point of view, we try to enhance the ideation phase in as much as possible, try to simulate an environment of how it will be a certain intervention and how, and try to I support the decision makers in understanding what will be the impact and the result after the implementation, in order not to continue, let's say, to the next phase without having a solid understanding on all the parameters. But indeed, no matter if we try to refine and make much better technological solutions, we will need some feedback loop when we go to the implementation, get back and try to refine the ideation of these solutions and make some corrective actions. So that is all from my side, and just as an addition and a small comment to the previous discussion.
Thank you very much, Martina. So this was important to hear it from you as well, how you perceive these values and the tools that are provided, which are actually quite simple, but yet when you try to operationalize them and work practically with the values and working principles, it becomes more challenging. And here I would have one question to Marco from our consortium. Marco, you are also acting as an ad hoc expert, and you know the European Bauhaus very well, also from the political background. How is it for you to align with the requirements on the local level, to the legal prerequisites that you have in Croatia? How do you think that this new overarching philosophy of NEP can be integrated with the local circumstances when it comes to regulation, laws, and the processes that you need to set to start your projects?
Okay, Gosia, thanks for a question. I've been in Regea, and Regea was from day one involved in New European Bauhaus, firstly as an official partner of the initiative, first one from Croatia. Now we have also this role as NCP. But to come to your question, I think that really a good response was got from the local initiative, from local level, to in co-creation phase of the initiative. There was quite a lot of ideas and projects from little NGOs and somebody from local level that really give sort of a message to the Brussels that people really hooked on that, and it soon became aware that this is not elite initiative for, I don't know, Paris or Berlin or Rome, but also for every neighborhood. And I think that there is a great value of this because, as you know, Europe is made of a lot of small towns and villages and places that are really beautiful or need to maintain this beautifulness and everything. So I think that really the initiative is going well, and every day also on the institutional level it's more recognized. And in Croatia, our ministries are trying to find ways to implement NEB in the funding or to give a space for financing or for changing the regulation or implementing these new ideas into regulation. And I believe it's all over Europe now. So I'm in that way, I'm really positive about this. And So in short, that is the answer, maybe.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is indeed important to highlight that the entire European Bauhaus was co-created, and before the initiatives were launched with financial mechanisms and tools and programs, this was a long process to consult and involve many stakeholders, and also villages, as you said. We also were involved as ICLEI in a project with villages who wanted to be European Bauhaus villages, which was something unique indeed. Thank you very much, Marco, for sharing your perspective. And I see that Helena is back. So back to you, Helena. I also know that you wanted to show one of your last slides. So we can do it for you, Joanna, perhaps. So please,
yes,
over
well,
to you.
That's not the most important thing. But if you mind, I just really wanted to have the Nordic Edge Expo. It's a green slide showing a expo that we're having in May in Stavanger, where we have site visits and workshops, disseminating our experiences and lessons learned so far. So it's quite far down, I think. But I'm so sorry, I lost connection, but I'm on the cell phone, and I would really tap into what the previous speaker said with the regulations and the need for implementing the NAB values in the regulations. And what we have come to discover, because it's a true challenge to merge sort of the existing tools and the existing economy, the existing logistics, and sort of the rationale behind, yes, there we have it. So you can just leave it there for people to see. That it's such a structure and linear approach with efficiency and regulations, and it's quite excluding in its existence. So what we also need to overcome with the development now of European Bauhaus values, that we need to sort of change our expectations of what is beauty, what is comfort, what is development, and what is sort of an aspiring place. Maybe we shouldn't be that deterministic and sort of having the efficiency values so present in what we consider to be valuable. So it's sort of a challenging thing, because now we have discussed all of these measurements and tools and digitation and IT-based solutions, which I truly believe is important, but we need to have two thoughts at the same time. Also thinking that we should maybe seek for other kind of tools that could express other things and sort of contain a diversity and struggle to sort of keep the complexity, not strive to find a one solution, one best practice, but sort of allow for a more dynamic way to go forward. And also, just my last point will be that what we really look for when it comes to regulations is that having the preservation and the heritage regulations expressing sort of a to keep the functions of the building and the building as is and the expressions as is, we really seek to, or we want to suggest an expression with regulations where you have more the quality of a building and a place, to maintain the expression of a place. So it's kind of a more sensory and aesthetic approach compared to that the windows and the sills and the door handles should be specifically replaced or renovated. So it's sort of because that could allow for a different kind of economy as well. So that's at least where we see interesting connecting points between regulations that could be sort of allowing for be more flexible, and also maybe the economy, and come together with sort of the neighborhood and the ownership of the inhabitants and users. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helena. Indeed, we didn't discuss today the economy. This could be also an important topic for European Bauhaus, how to make it really appealing for various communities, also from the smaller ones who have sometimes less project experience and less capacity to apply for funds. But now, as we conclude today's webinars on co-creating next generation solution for cultural heritage buildings, I would like to extend our thanks to all guests, partners and pilots for your engagement and insights and your comments and contributions. This was amazing to listening to you. And we also almost reached 4 p.m., but this is not the end. So you can now see that we are excited to announce that soon we will launch the open call for learning partners interested in hosting Inherit pilots. So we were trying to design study visits for the Inherit pilots to learn from other European Bauhaus projects dealing with heritage renovation. So please visit the site and you can apply. You are more than welcome to apply, and we are more than happy if you will become our host and share your knowledge on the ground, not via Zoom, but also via experience face-to-face. When it comes to the experience via Zoom, we will also host further webinars next year as part of the capacity building program. But as for now, thank you very much for this first step of talking about Inherit with wider public. Thank you very much again also to our colleagues from the ZSI for designing and holding the session with our pilots. Please stay tuned, follow our channels, and we just started. So this will be very much more to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
ICLEI team. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.